All right, what is good, you guys? We're back at it again with another clip. Let's get this show upon the road. So for this one, we're going to specifically talk about mainly the mental plane, or the mental density, they call it. Now, this is very fascinating because when people see this on the chart, they don't fully understand what it is. We understand the physical, the astral, the soul base, but then what is that mental area? First things first, how did this all start being laid out to me? Now, this is fascinating because last night I went to the Astral school, which is really cool going there. So I hop out of my body and I go to this place that's in space. And they also have some places on Earth, but this one was in space. I'm not sure where, but we go here and there's other astral projectors here as well who are also in Astral school. Now, we talked about this before, going to Astral school and all of that, but this one, I was in a classroom and we even had dorms. So we're supposed to stay there for 3 days. Again, I don't know what's up with these damn 3 days in the Astral, but I was there for 3 days and we had dorms, we had parties, and we had classes. But the classes that I specifically went for were about the mental plane. So this is how it started. I go there and everything looks pretty like a university. There's all these different types of beings, and mostly astral projectors that are the students. And then the teachers are extraterrestrials. Most of them look human, or they look very extremely human. You're like, whoa, like you're a very imagine a very advanced human. You're like, whoa, like that's what it looks like. Others were different beings you would see walk around, different astral projectors from other areas of the universe or this galaxy. And you also see different types of beings walking around. But I found it fun because I made a lot of friends. You guys know I like making friends here. And I remember some would leave earlier than others. So what would happen is you go there and then I would see them, we'd talk, and say it was Sunday in Astral days. I had to leave Monday, but my friends were leaving on Sunday. So I literally would hug them. And I remember we cried. I cried and they cried. And we were just like crying, and then we said bye to each other because we knew we were never going to see each other again. But we at least shared the experience together in the Astral. And that is something I'll never forget. So to those people who I astral traveled with, I want to say shout out to you, even though I'll probably never see you again. But let's get into what the classes were, because this is the cool part. Now, I go into the classroom and it's like a university. You go and you sit down, and as I was walking in, the teacher was already talking and she's like, oh, welcome. And I was like, hey, right? I sit down and then she's like, first thing we're going to talk about today, and you came here to learn about, your guide sent you here to learn about the mental plane. And I was like, woo, and it was already written on the board. And it's weird because they have technology in which they could show you in your mind, and they could show you with technology that they put on the board or in front of you. So she's talking about the mental plane, and the first thing she laid out was that the mental plane is its own realm. It's its own dimension, space pocket. We got the physical, we got the etheric, then we got the astral, and then goes the mental and the causal. And then that's basically the soul area you get at. When you have awareness of the astral, you already know what that is. You're aware of spirits. You're aware of all these different beings and energies and all of that type of stuff. When you get to the mental, that's where you have mental awareness. You have access of the mental plane, and for sure control over your existence and ability to move around the mental plane. We see it's its own density, but it's also its own realm. And we'll get more into that in a little bit. But understand that the mental plane is made out of your thoughts, your beliefs, your memories, anything that is within your mind that your mind cells hold on to. That is part of your mental plane. Now, remember this, that the mental plane is very this is why it's kind of mixed with the astral. People mix it with the astral is because what you do in the mind verse affects the rest of the other layers of your reality. So when you're thinking things, That affects your vibration. That affects how your body feels. Do you see what I'm saying? It changes the way you perceive time. When you are when you're having a fun old time, right? You're having a good old day and you're at the fair, time flies by. But when you're bored as hell or you're sad and times are stressful and you're counting the clock, time's moving by real damn slow. This is frequency. Time moves quicker when you're at a higher frequency. Now, we have physical vessels, so time moves a little quicker when we're in a higher frequency. But when you're in the higher planes, time moves faster, way faster. So say what happens in the physical takes a year. In the higher planes, that's like a month, if you want to say like that. Now, don't quote me, but just know that the time is different because you're going higher in frequency, okay? So when you're having the best time of your life, things are moving quick, but that's because it's made out of certain thoughts. Your thoughts guide your vibration, and your programming of the mind dictates your vibration. So you need to be aware of how this dimensional level affects you every single day. Now, it may sound kind of basic because you're like, yeah, mind programming and all that stuff and time movement and all that, but understand that a lot of people are trapped by their mental plane. For example, you're trapped by certain thoughts that are keeping you a certain way, thinking a certain way, believing certain things. Your mind thinks it knows everything. So you're looking at this, right? And your eyes are projecting, you're seeing what's happening here. You're feeling what's happening. This is a white cup. This is a white cup filled with lemon tea, right? And you're doing this. But that is what your brain is collecting from your senses. Do you see what I'm saying? So when you also think things, that is what you're perceiving about the reality. When you put beliefs, that's what you're believing, what you're perceiving about your reality. You're like, oh, lemon tea is not good for you. You believe lemon tea is not good for you the rest of your life. Anytime you look at it, you're like, oh, no, right? Little do you know it is good for you. For an example, your mind is like, oh, this stuff is demonic. That's extremely demonic because you were taught it. Meanwhile, it's not demonic. It's actually the most divine thing you could ever do to connect with God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it. So your mind is dictating what your reality is. Now, what's going on in here all the time affects you every day, no matter what thought it is. So when you are thinking to yourself, you know, I don't think I could do this. How come things are like that? I just want to travel, but I'm afraid. This is where we're getting at, is your fears are what your mind has created. And these things keep you on a lower vibration. If you want to break free, you have to break free from your fears by diving into them. Sometimes you just have to do them. Sometimes you have to learn to remove the fear. So a lot of different beings, especially lower entities, could use the mental plane against you to keep you somewhere certain, to limit you, and you limit yourself. So the mental plane is very, very important. You guys need to take note of the different programmings you have, the different programmings you're creating for yourself. You're like, oh, I only feel good if I drink coffee all the time. That's your programming. Well, now you need to unprogram your mind to not need coffee. And you need to program your body to not need coffee. Do you see what I'm telling you? This is programming everything. Even the way I talk, the way I breathe, the way I see the world, it's all programming. But when you have access to the mental plane and awareness and you dive into it, all of a sudden you have power over all of your life. You have power over who you are. You can dictate how you see the world, what you do, where you go. You can dictate how you talk, the way you breathe. Every single thing you have power over, especially the astral. Because astral beings will use, negative astral beings will use the mental plane, and positive astral beings will use the mental plane to help you and lift you up. So this could go so many different ways, all right? You're like, okay, yeah, like if I could unprogram myself to not be afraid of this thing, things will change. Yes. What I'm talking about on an even deeper level is the fact that what you receive through your senses, you already know that's not everything. So then what you receive in the astral becomes more real. Now what you're receiving on the mental is becoming more, you're gaining more control over what's happening there. You've become astrally aware. So all of a sudden you can feel the energy that's crystal. You can astral project and see things. You have extrasensory abilities. But do you have control over the process of all this information that is coming within you? Your spirit is above the mental. So you are analyzing everything happening in the mental plane. You can analyze everything happening in the physical, the etheric, the astral, and the mental. This is you. This is who you are. But when you are trapped on the mental plane of awareness and you don't have awareness, then fears control you, thoughts control you, experiences dictate who you are and control you. But when you have control, all those things don't. You dictate how your experiences affect you. You determine how your thoughts, what your thoughts are and how they affect you. You gain control over these things. So then there's no more mind control. Astral beings especially can't play with you in your mind. They can't do those mind games with you because you're in full awareness of your mental plane of existence. Do you see how important this is? Speeding up and slowing down time is easy, man. You could actually visit the past in your mind, as you know. You could visit the future in your mind, as you know. That may require an extrasensory ability, right? But you can still do it. You go to the astral visit time, you could still do it. So I want you to be aware, especially in the present moment. Like just when I said present moment a second ago, that's in the past now. But that was the present before. And in the future, I know I'm going to say the word present again. You're in awareness of time. You're in awareness when you're happy, things go quicker, or things slow down when you're not happy. You're in awareness that you, in your mental plane, you control and dictate your past, present, and future. You also dictate what happens in the astral realm through thoughts. You create portals with your thoughts. You create energies with your thoughts. This mental plane affects the rest of the other planes of existence. This is important. So remember, when you're trying to control, people are always trying to control their mind, dictate what's in there, what it says, how things go. At the beginning, you need to flow. Just sit with your mind. Try the mental plane meditation. I should teach that. The mental plane meditation, where you sit down, you let your mind just do whatever the hell it wants, and you're just observing. Don't try and control what's happening, and then just observe. And remember, whatever you put your attention to is going to grow. So they talk about the law of attraction, yes, because you're pulling that energy towards you with your thoughts, right? You keep pulling that, and you're materializing the energy. You keep putting energy together, you're materializing it until it comes to the physical, right? So with your mind, you're creating energy. You're like, oh, I feel happy, right? And then you're like, I want to manifest hanging out with my homegirl. You keep envisioning that. You keep building that energy until all of a sudden she's texting you, hey, do you want to hang out? You're using the mental plane to pull those energies towards you, but you control the mental plane through this. So if you want to change the programming in your mind, you need to first become aware of the programming. Become aware of what things you do all the time. Like, for example, you need to work out. That's become a part of your programming, where you program yourself to work out. But a lot of us at the beginning, it wasn't part of our program. We had to force ourselves to go to the gym until it became part of our mind verse, where next thing you know, the neural links in our mind, where the neural cells were connecting in our mind to create an easy pathway for that. So now it's like EBC 1, 2, 3 to go to the gym, right? So we're getting neuroscientific here, but we're also very energetic and conscious here. So you become aware of what's happening in your mind, because what's happening in your mind dictates your reality, dictates space. It dictates space and time, how your physical is, how your astral is, how your etheric is, everything. Do you see how important this realm is? Remember that your fears, experiences, and thoughts, you're dictating how you handle them. Once you sit down with your fears, you're like, yo, I need to handle this joint. Let's dive into this. You're also reprogramming your mind to go head first into fears. So you're programming the core of your subconscious to not be so afraid. You're programming your mind to look at an experience and understand why you needed that experience, how it benefited you on all levels, and how to heal it and never have to look back at it in pain, but look back at it with strength and say, thank you for that. Like, that helped me become who I am now. So you need to understand all these things are there to help you. your mental plane is important. You can obviously use the mental plane to affect the energy around you, to program things, right? Especially moving around the astral plane, making portals in the astral, talking to beings, all these stuff, right? This is how things work. Now, you can also do telepathy where you're talking to different spiritual beings or you're talking to other people. You're hanging out with your friend. You're like, yo, like, I was just thinking that. Yeah, and you said it. We always do that. Or we always think about each other and we text each other. I just know how you're feeling, what you're thinking. That's part of the actual mental plane. Yes, it's very astral, but that's part of the mental plane. Do you see how your soul is experiencing these things? Remember, we're talking about the causal and Buddhic level. That's soul level. So when you're looking at the mental plane, your spirit's already aware of what's going on in the mental. It's not the mental, but it's experiencing the mental and using the mental. That is what's important. You're not seeing the mind as you, you're seeing it as a part of you. The dream realm is cool because the dream realm is like your own mental verse. It's like playing offline. You're in the astral, but you're using the mental plane. And so this is where beings can jump into your dreams. You can have dream visitations from passed away family members or star people, fairies, whatever it is. You could get these visitations in dreams because you are just within your offline mental verse, right? You're astral traveling within the mental verse, and then astral traveling is going online. So you are then going into the universe, the astral layer of the universe. But how you think is still in the process when you're astral projecting. When you're astral projecting, you're still thinking. Your soul is still there. You just are detached from the physical. You're basically traveling in your astral body. So you still have the other layers of you with you. You still have the mind, the mental verse. You still have the soul verse, right? You still have all these other things because that's other layers of you. You just detach from a certain layer of your reality so you can experience the other ones, right? And do stuff that you can't in the physical. You always are using the mental plane to create things in the astral and in the physical all the damn time. But once you gain awareness of the mental plane, all of a sudden everything changes and you have more control over your existence as a being in this physical, in this astral, in this whole existence. You have more power over it, and that's important, okay? You have more control over it. Start with detaching from the mind and saying, okay, everything that's going on in my mind is just part of my reality. It's kind of chaotic in here. I need to learn how to control it. Remember, what you put your energy toward, what you put your attention toward, your mind's going to give you more of. So if you're trying to meditate and then all of a sudden something comes up, if you put attention toward it, you're like, oh, get away, get away. That's you fighting your mind still. You're still putting attention toward that thing and your mind's like, oh, well, they want more of this, so I'm going to give them more. So it doesn't matter good or bad. Whatever you put your attention to, you're going to get more of. When you're doing a mental plane meditation, just sit in your mind and give attention to what you want. Other things will come up. Maybe you hear music and you're like, I don't want music. Just let it flow and put attention to what you want. Pay attention to the silence if you don't want music, or pay attention to the music if you don't want the silence. Pay attention to you floating in space in your mind and not necessarily what you got to do tomorrow. You're putting your attention towards certain things that are going to benefit you and that are helpful for you. And I'm excited that all of you are diving into the mental plane. This is going to be really cool. Tell me how it goes with you guys in the mental plane and using the power of this mental plane and meshing with it to gain control over and gain more awareness of it. Because a lot of time the mental plane has control over us, or our mental version of us it's like what happened and all the programming has more control over us than actually ourselves. Remember, you dictate where you go, what happens, what you think, what you feel, how you see things. You have full control over that. But we're made to believe that you don't, because if you gain control of the mental plane, you gain more access and more control of your existence. And that's a threat to some people, but it's also exactly what you need to step into your power. Love you guys so much. See you in the next one. Peace out. Bye.